Hey, Matt here. Today I wanted to make a video about online poker in Ontario, Canada, since I've been getting a bunch of questions about it, and rightfully so, because there's not been that much communication between the sites and the players, or even our government and the players, to be honest. So the first thing I want to address is this is for Ontario only, not all of Canada. Also, Toronto is not Ontario. I know a lot of people associate with Toronto as its own thing, but Toronto is in Ontario. It's a city in Ontario. In Canada, we have cities, and then we have provinces, which are like states in the US, and then the country. At the start of the year, I started hearing some rumblings that they were planning to regulate online poker. I didn't really take it too seriously, but then I think it was probably February or March, our government put out a statement and they said they were starting this, I don't know what you would call this commission, right here, I guess this iGaming Ontario. And the idea behind it was to protect consumer gambling through private gaming companies. And obviously, this is likely just for tax reasons. But what this did was, it wasn't just for poker, but it's also for sports betting and other casino games. It basically restricts us to only playing with people in the province of Ontario. Now that I think about it, it must have been late March that they announced this, because the date that this was going live was April 4th, and I remember it must have been late March and everybody was in a panic wondering what was going to happen to online poker in Ontario. And I remember even April 3rd, I remember going to sleep and not knowing if I was going to be able to play the next day because the sites never communicated what their plans were. So if we go to Poker Views, I'll link this article in the description below. This is just a great resource for everything about the iGaming and what sites are planning to do. Now, on April 4th, 888 and Party/BetMGM actually did launch, or they launched April 5th. And if you go to the lobbies right now, there isn't much traffic. I hear their tournaments had a bunch of overlays, at least at the beginning. But for cash games, there's no Zoom running, and there's only a few tables above 1, 2, and that's really only at peak times. So that part is kind of unfortunate. With that being said, 888 and Party are no GG or PokerStars. And as of tomorrow, I'm recording this video on the 27th of June, so the 28th of June, PokerStars will be transferring over. So that means anybody playing on PokerStars from Ontario will no longer have access to the global pool. They'll be ring-fenced to Ontario, unfortunately. Now, a lot of people say that this is a good thing because there are a lot of weaker players in Ontario and it keeps the good regs out. In my opinion, I don't think this is a good thing at all. Online poker traffic is already going down rapidly. As you can see here, PokerStars global cash game traffic slips below 5,000 for the first time in history. Now, you could, say that's due to a bunch of different things. For example, GG coming as a strong competitor. And sure, there's probably some truth to that, but it's also the fact that a lot of these countries are regulating, or they're banning certain countries like Russia, for example, that I assume provided a lot of liquidity. And I think that's going to be a problem going forward that sites are going to have to figure out. It's either we're all going to be happy with ring fencing, but then what if it doesn't become profitable to even run poker anymore? Because all the money's going to be in the sports and the casino games. And if there's no traffic for poker, why would the sites offer it? Maybe we're still a long way from that, but I think it's something to consider. I mean, if a recreational logs on and there's no games running, why would they ever want to come back? Right? I think it's important that we have enough liquidity so that if somebody wants to play, they can log on and they can play. And I've seen some other messages in Discord saying, well, it's unfair to hold sites to that standard when it's not peak hours. And maybe that's true for some of these ring fence sites, but I think that's why it's important to have global sites, so that if somebody wants to play, they have the ability to do so. Now, at the start, it is ring fenced to just Ontario. However, there are some rumors, not just in this article, but I've heard from other sources that they are maybe one day going to consider expanding it, whether that be to the US or to other provinces in Canada. That sounds great. It sounds great to have the idea of having some WSOP bracelet events. I've heard, having satellites to main events now because, again, it's regulated, so it's legal. You're allowed to advertise. In fact, I've seen a bunch of advertisements over the past couple months, not just for PokerStars, but parties doing a lot of advertising. I even have like billboards down my street, and I don't live in a big town in Ontario, and they have advertisements. Parties doing a lot, BetMGM and even 888. So that part is good. I know PokerStars does have some partnerships with the Leafs, the Jays, the Raptors. I think the MLS team as well. I can't even remember what it's called because soccer, not football, is by far my least favorite sport. But that aspect is really good that there are a lot of advertisement money coming in. My only concern is how long will that last? That's going to be great maybe for the first 6 months for the year, but are you going to be able to keep those players playing, and will it be good for the long run? And that, I'm honestly not sure. I know a lot of people are excited about it, but, I guess we'll see who's right in the long run. Now, that's all I have for today's video. I'll link all these articles in the description below if you want to read more about it. I'm by no means an expert. I just know that tomorrow I can't play on PokerStars. Which sucks. It really does. I did not think that this would happen in Canada, but it just goes to show that, anything can happen. And I think there's a myth that we are, quote unquote, free to do what we want. Really, governments have so much power. I mean, we saw that with COVID, just saying, hey, you can't run your business anymore. Stuff like this, regulating sites to say, who you can't play with. I just don't think it's good. There's really no other way to put it. In theory, regulation is good. In theory, it would help protect the consumer. But I don't really think that's why they're doing it. I think they're just doing it for the tax dollars. And, hopefully one day things will change. But we see how slow it is in the US. So I'll believe it when I see it. And I'm not hopeful. Especially for online poker in the future, if a lot more countries and provinces decide to go this regulated route. I like how Czech Republic's doing it. I think even the Netherlands are going to do this too, where they're going to have regulation, but you can still play in a global pool, and I think that's really important for the future and the longevity of online poker. But yeah, that's all I have for today's video. Good luck to everybody still able to play in the .com pool. I'm definitely jealous. And anyone in the Ontario pools, watch out because I'm coming.